Hi, I'm Mary, and this is Dreamy Goat Design Studio video on scouring, a fancy word for washing your fiber, which I'm going to guess you already know how to wash your yarns or your comb tops. So this is going to just touch upon the high points of the process, and if you want further directions, I've written up a page of directions that I will post to the group. Okay, the very first thing you need to do is figure out what fiber you want to use. And then you need to weigh it. And let me just say now that weighing is important because both mortantine and the actual dyeing itself is based on a percentage of the weight of your fiber, okay? So you can do unspun combed top like this Blueface Leicester and Tussa, or you can do yarn. Okay, but you do want to weigh it, and you do want a kitchen scale that looks like this, nice and flat, so that you can put the fiber on the scale. It is highly desirable if you weigh in both grams and ounces, especially if you are working on smaller amounts of fiber, because the smaller you get, the more you really need to be able to weigh or measure, I should say, in fractions of ounces, and 28 grams to an ounce. So work in grams if you will. Remember to record what you weigh as well, okay? So you've got your fiber chosen, you've weighed it, it's so many ounces or so many grams. Now you need to secure it for washing it. So this is just 2 ties for combed top. Notice this is a cotton string. You could use, actually this is a cotton yarn, not a string, but whatever you use it soft. It can be wool, but don't use a dyed string or yarn, because eventually that color will transfer over, it'll bleed onto your fiber, and then you've got some staining. So I have cut, let me see, lengths of string, lengths of yarn, okay? And I just secure my unspun here and spun yarn here. This is the yarn you're going to be using in the groups. Notice again, I've tied them up so that they're nice and, well, not going to tangle, we're going to hope. You are now technically ready to wash your yarns. And you know how I use the word scour? Scour simply means that you are taking off the last of the oil residue that is on commercially prepared fibers. You do need to do this. Even though this looks clean, it still could very easily have a film of oil on it, and that oil could affect your mortantine and therefore your dyeing. So here's what I'm saying though, what I'm getting to. I like to go a second step, and I like to use these mesh bags. They're just cheapy lingerie mesh bags. I like to secure the yarn, and definitely the top, in these before I wash them. Now they're under control, and now they are less likely to abrade or get all tangled in the case of yarn. I recommend this, although it is not required. You may, if you're using fleece, not so important. If you're using unspun mohair lock, not so important. Okay, but I always weigh out 4 ounces per bag. That's the way I work, but then I dye a lot. Okay, so now what do we have? I am going to, I think we're kind of ready. I'm going to show you as a sample the world's smallest amount of yarns. These yarns, by the way, will go into the second round of the handbook that I'm using. Notice how small the amount is. Never dye just this small amount. Natural dyeing is labor intensive. There are many steps to doing it. If you're going to go to all this trouble to create beautiful color through plants and leaves and insects and the like, then dye enough. This is just this little amount here, which comes to half an ounce, 14 grams. You would want to supplement it with a pound, of fiber to make all of your effort worthwhile. So if you're ready to wash it, what you want to do is get yourself a gentle soap. Now I'm not really endorsing this, but what you want to do, and I don't think the camera can see it, but it says, what does it say? It says neutral pH. If you can get a neutral or balanced pH soap or detergent, do so. And a balanced pH is right at 7. You can always Google your own soap or laundry detergent to see what its pH is. You would actually have to write in what is the pH of X brand, and ultimately they'll let you know. Most detergents are slightly alkaline, 8, 9, sometimes even 10, which isn't slightly anymore. It's not as important to have a pH balanced soap when you're scouring, but it's very important at the very end when you're doing a final wash of your dyed fibers. So you might want to scout around and look for any brand that does have a pH 7 or thereabout. So you get yourself a gentle soap, you get yourself warm water, and that is not a glass of wine, even though it looks like it. I'm going to use this small container. You would never use this small container, I don't think. If you have a top-loading washing machine, use that. Especially if you are washing quantities of fiber, 8 ounces, 12 ounces a pound. I do 3 pounds at a time, usually in our top-loading washing machine. But you are going to see that washing machine because that's under the house, and no one other than me and my husband is allowed under our house. If you have less fiber, or if you do not have a top-loading machine, use a dishpan. Okay, use a dishpan. But my little sample just requires a tiny little container because it's a tiny amount. You're going to treat your fiber in whatever size as if it were a baby. And when you wash a baby, which I'm not sure I ever have, so I'm just speaking from folklore, I guess. Go ahead and put your water in first, warm water. All right, because it's a top-loading machine, you're just going to fill your tank with warm water. You're going to add your nice, gentle soap. All right, you're going to get your suds going. And then you put your baby, your fiber in. Notice this is obviously not in a mesh bag because it is just not needed for this. Don't wring it, don't agitate it. If you're using a washing machine, just fill up the tank and let it sit, okay? No wash cycle, no rinse cycle in a washing machine because it will really tear up your fibers. So let it just sit here. If you're washing wool, wool has those scales that need to open up to really let the water in, to really absorb into the wool. So give it some time. I will often go away after an hour, maybe come back. And then if I need to, I repeat the cycle. But here's what I do. Remember, this is your baby. Pull this out before you pour the water out, okay? There's something about don't toss out the baby with the bath water. I think that's appropriate here. Then, of course, if you need to do it a second time, do it a second time. At this point, you're ready to rinse. And once you've rinsed, you've got a beautiful, clean fiber ready to mordant. Now, you either keep it in the bag or otherwise contain it. And if you're ready to mordant it, you just go for it. If you're not ready to mordant it, put it in an airtight plastic bag, put it in the refrigerator, leave it overnight. If need be, you can even freeze it until you're ready to mordant, or since it's just clean fiber, you can let it dry out and then wet it when you're ready to mordant, which will be our next video. Okay? If you do it any other way, let the group know. Thank you. See you soon.